welcome to the Passion Witch Project. I'm your host, Emily Steckel, pharmacist, Reiki practitioner, and Passion Witch. And on the show, we chat with folks who are leaning into what makes them wonderfully weird and living their passion. And today, we are so grateful to be joined by Colleen White Augustsson, who is a psychic medium and retreat leader. Colleen, I gotta say, I've been so excited to have this chat with you.
I'm so excited to be here. I love you, and it was like such a
too.
gift meeting you, and it's been like so exciting waiting to do this because this has been so fun. Following you has been amazing.
You too. I feel like we have so many shared passions.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start by asking you the hardest question, and I'll say, you don't have to have an answer, and you're allowed to change your mind. If you could be the best in the world at one thing, what would it be?
Oh gosh, that's really, really hard. It's funny that I would say mom, but like I don't think anyone can be the best at it, but I feel like being more present and patient and like, you know, where my kids go is really even more important than where I've been or where I'm going, like in my soul level.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. And I feel like this question is especially interesting for you because more than just about anybody I've ever met, you have lived like several distinct lives within your life. Like I love hearing your stories because you really have allowed yourself to have such a buffet of experiences in this lifetime.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have gone from like film school at college to
I didn't know that one.
corporate retail management. Like I started working at 14, was working full time at 16 through college, like rolled into like corporate tourism retail management in Boston. So that was my 20s. So like in my 20s, I was like overseeing 2 stores in Boston.
That's right.
And then multiple stores after that with another company. And then that evolved into like ending up in Salem. Like,
yeah, I want to go back to the film school part for just a moment because that
the
is
craziest
so interesting.
part.
And I didn't know this about you. So what drew you to film school? What was that experience like? Ultimately, why did you decide to make another choice?
I went to film school at Emerson, and I left to go into retail corporate management because I was working full time and putting myself through school and had an apartment. And, you know, I adored film. I think I wanted to do directing. I wanted to be behind the scenes. It was something that I really, really enjoyed at that time in my life. But then when you're like living in the city in Boston and looking at all the bills,
Totally.
and I don't regret it. I feel like the path, like I went from working in the hotel gift shops, the Sheraton Westin, to working for the trolley company, which was like one of the best jobs I've ever had, which is funny because now I work for myself and I have so much fun. But it was just such a family and such a great company. It's just such a great company. And it was like just really a joy to have like a job where I got my full benefits, I got my holidays off, you know, it was...
Sometimes that's exactly what we need,
Yeah,
right? When you've been like
it was
grinding
very
away, like allowing yourself to just be supported by some good structure.
And structure, the ability to grow, like the ability to get a store management job after an assistant manager job after, you know, a key holder job, and then like to be able to run multiple stores. It was really nice to feel like you were actually getting somewhere. Like,
Yeah. I'll be curious to see too, again, I think it'll be fun to share some other stories of yours with our viewers, but it'll be interesting to see how film perhaps returns in your life at some point, because that passion was there for a reason, and now you have all of these interesting lived experiences to bring to that setting if you wanted to.
Yeah, it was really interesting because when my ex opened a gift shop in Salem and a tour company, I was running that store. Someone came in, probably the first year I was writing a book called Cinema Salem about all the movies and TV shows that had been made in Salem.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, you know, like there's all types of witches, you know, there's like Catholic witches, and there's, you know, like there's atheist witches, and there's scientific witches, you know, and I was like, but if I ever wrote a book, I'm going to write a book called Real Witches Wear Red Sox Hats. And I actually still am writing that book. I feel like it's an ongoing passion project, but it's something that I've been working on more and more so, and that I actually feel like will be done at some point. Because I was a writer before I got interested in anything else, so that's something that I was since I was young. girl, so it was always more of a passion of me. So it was like, ooh, I want to be a journalist, and then, I guess I'll do film.
Gotcha. What types of writing do you find yourself drawn toward? It sounds so. If you were to categorize this book in a genre that you've been working on, what would you say it is?
So this is my life.
Yeah. So this is like memoir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's my life, and it's really, really fun. It's just how like you really don't know. There's no one set path. Everything is eclectic, and you can't put someone into a box or bubble because you don't know. You know, but like there's also this whole thing where like at one point in my career I was running this little booth at Faneuil Hall that was the Red Sox souvenir store, and it was when we were winning the World Series. We were on this like huge spree. It was just this amazing time for the Red Sox, and I had this group of nuns come in from New York, and they were buying a whole bunch of Red Sox stuff, and they spent hundreds of dollars on Red Sox stuff, and they were like in their full nun stuff, and I was like, oh, you guys like the Red Sox? You're from New York, you don't like the Yankees? And they were like, no. They were like, God likes the Mets and the Red Sox. And there's always been this magical thing about the Red Sox being from Boston. And the whole nun experience was like adorable. And I've always felt there was a certain magic to like being a fan of certain sports teams. And that's definitely one that I feel like makes me feel a little more magical.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's funny. I have a dear friend who, like, for him, the Celtics are that's his religion. Like, that is 100% what he believes in. And like you said, there is no one right path. Like, literally, like, there is a buffet of options where you can choose to put your belief.
Yeah.
There's something so lovely about that.
There really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went Catholic all the way with my sacraments. My kids are going through their sacraments because tradition is so important to me.
Yeah.
But like I left at 14 because I really wanted to be a priest. And I said to the cardinal during my confirmation, I was like, well, I know the Mass by heart and I want to be a priest. And he was like, women will never be priests. He says the role of women in the church is to have children and be wives and stay home. And I was 14. It's like the 90s. It's like the early 90s. And I was like, well, I'm going to take a break from this. And I started reading about all world religions, and it got me onto different paths and meditation and Buddhism, and leading me to like Wicca books and leading me to books about different religions and Rumi and Sufism. And I love the fact that it made me study everything, like getting big books on world religions and like throwing myself into that, because there is no specific path. Like, you know, all good leads the same way.
Yeah. I love that. All good leads the same way. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's like, you know, like the universe is made up of this energy of divine love. And if we're following a path that says, love everybody, divine love, like it's really funny because, you know, we come back to like, you know, I feel like the energy right now a lot of people do need is that Jesus energy. So I resonate with that because unconditional love, divine love, and like tolerance and no judgment is so important in our society today. But I feel like so many religions, when done correctly, lead there.
Absolutely.
And that's where they just get misaligned and misguided, and people make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, that's our nature, right?
I got married when I was 21 first. You know, it was so fun. I was married for 2 years, but we were married by a couple who were Baptist. And it was so funny because we found out later that like my in-laws had been in their church, or so that's why we got married there. And I found out later that they were robbing their parishioners. And I think that I don't know if they went on the run or if they actually got prosecuted for it, but that just seemed to be the story of so many churches.
Yeah,
and
why
so
do you
many
think that
people's
happens?
story.
Why do you think it is that
There's
way?
such a power complex, and that's why, like, you know, that's kind of why I resonate and I go back to like old traditional like things, whether it be like old paths, old ways, or like Catholicism in a sense, because I feel like I don't know, there's problems with everything, but if you have like one individual who says, I'm the word, I'm the head of everything, and I'm not being held accountable to anyone else, there's a huge danger in that. And the same thing with like with witchy energy too. Like there's so many instances like in the past where one older man gathers a whole bunch of younger girls and was like, you're gonna do what I say. And there's so much cultism, and I think that that's the misconception of like so much of that they worry there's like cultism and there's like some old person who's like telling all these kids what to do. And it has happened. That's what historically has happened in so many different.
Yeah. in all of your studies and your many unique lived experiences, have you seen models that distribute power in a way that is not exploitative? Like, have you seen, or do you intuit a way that we might do this all better?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the feminine divine energy that I saw when my friend was putting together Red Tent in Salem, or like helping to facilitate some of that, and and me doing some of that in New Hampshire and working with other people who are doing that, or had like women-owned businesses, like the Bohemian shops, or just so many people I know that like do divine feminine energy circle work, like my friend Katie, who does some of it in Manchester. Like that just aligns so much with like what I need right now, because I feel like, you know, especially like growing up, I mean, we're still in a society where women are like pushed back, and then they're also told be hard or you're not going to succeed. You have to be very competitive. So to be a successful woman in your 20s, you've got to be very masculine. You can't lean into your feminine. So if to be in corporate, you have to be extremely masculine. And then to get ahead in any career, even when I was a psychic medium full time, you had to be like, you had to go full steam ahead. Like you couldn't say, you go first, you know, like you had to go full steam ahead. Like, no, I'll take 50 people today. I don't need a break, you know, like you can't, you know, but to have softness and vulnerability, like to be able to do that in my mothering years, and to have female energy around me that's so supportive and loving. And that's why I started the retreat business, is to facilitate circles of women and to give them a whole weekend or a whole week to relax and get spa services and yoga and sound bath, and to heal their soul, and to show them they can trust other women and that other women can hold space for them without hurting them.
Yeah. And I feel like you do that with such integrity. Like your actions just so beautifully follow your beliefs in the way that you connect people to each other, right? Like the way that you're weaving the web, so to speak, right? You don't have to be at the center of it. I think like you've facilitated so many beautiful connections for me with other folks, and it's like you allow your ego to step aside in service of creating something larger.
Yeah, I just love it, because I'm always like meeting someone, I'm like, your energy would be so good with this person. And even like, it's funny because I aligned you with my friend Megan. And then every time I'm talking to my friend Vanessa, I'm like, you align so well with my friend Megan. I know you know her, but I know you don't know her very well. Like you should, like, and it's like my friend Katie, I'm like, you need to do this with this person, because it would, and it really doesn't. It has nothing to do with me. I just feel like I'm a connector, and that's part of my job, is like connecting people to themselves, their soul, spirit, and like who they need to be a part of to like trust and have a better support system as women.
Yeah. I feel like the ability to do that, to make connections outside of yourself, like it often comes from an ability to have integrated your many parts within.
Yeah.
What has that journey looked like for you, your kind of integration work?
Oh, I mean, it's funny because I think I've gone through the cycle of like blind trust and unconditional love like so much. And like from like corporate land, where I made everyone feel like a family, even though I was like the boss and everyone got a birthday cake, but then I still had to let someone go if I found them stealing or if like they had violated company policy. That was really, really hard, to the point where I was like, you know, kind of in direct competition with so many different people when I was doing my job in Salem as a psychic medium. And there were people like who I was like, oh, we can all do this, we can all get along. And then there would be people who kind of like jealous on the upswing, and you'd lose these people. And I'd be like, oh, I didn't expect to lose that person, but like, you know, their energy, you know, the vibration didn't really work. But learning, you know, that you can't always make everybody happy. You're not always aligned with everyone's vibration. Some people are not on the same level as you in certain ways, and they're not on the same vibrational level, and you have to be with your people or you're not being true to yourself.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what your experience is of like someone else's vibration. Like, how do you experience that?
Oh my gosh, so I need to start listening to my intuition, because I was such a people pleaser because I'm a Gemini rising. And I swear, like so many years I was just like, oh, I'll be friends with you, and I'll let you in, and you in, and you in, and you in. And the older I got, like when I started to have children, I noticed some of my clients were so obsessive, and I was transitioning from needing those clients to feeling abused by those clients, like that they really needed more help than I could give. They didn't need a psychic, they needed more help. So I started to let go of people who I wasn't helping, who I wasn't coaching, who I wasn't transitioning, who like weren't really getting help from me. And then I've learned in the last few years to do that with friends. Like when someone gives you anxiety and their presence makes you panic, you listen to that because there's a reason for it.
Yeah. Have you? And it's. I think you're speaking to a universal experience, right? It's challenging for everyone, maybe especially women, but probably for everyone to confront that truth, right? Yeah. When you have someone who's been dear to you, who just is no longer nourishing you, right? Whose presence is causing you a lot of, or costing you a lot, perhaps. Yeah. How have you found graceful ways to transition, to walk away?
I've been blessed to like be able to let people go and not give them my energy anymore, and to like kind of let them go on and move on and do their own thing. I know, like, you know, I've seen that happen like in business where a lot of people were like, well, I'm going to go do my own thing. It's in direct competition of you guys, so I'm not going to talk to you guys anymore. And like we saw that time and time again in Salem. But like community sticks together, and the majority of the community there like sticks together, like in a sense where if something really went wrong, the community sticks together. But there are people who, you know, really do better on their own. They don't like, they're not willing to self-sacrifice with community, and that's okay. And you have to let people go who aren't, you know, like honest and completely open and completely willing to do that. I am blessed that I have never, obviously I think maybe, I've never lost like a female friendship that like I had to cry about, like losing someone to a loss. Like everybody has stuck with me. Like I have my people, like my long-term people are my long-term people. Like my family, my friends from like 40 years ago, like my Salem like friends who like taught me and grew with me, like my mom friends in this area and my business networking friends. Like I've never like had to miss someone like, oh, I'm so sad. Like I didn't see that coming. I've always kind of seen it coming, you know?
Yeah. I'm wondering, it's interesting, you were talking a little bit about like the competition, especially, you know, at your time in Salem, your time in corporate. And it was funny because at the start of this conversation, you talked about how there are all different kinds of witches, right? There are Catholic witches, and there are scientific witches and atheist. And it's, I feel like you're very aware of the fact that there's enough room for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we all bring something unique to the table.
There really is. And I mean, there's definitely different forms of purism. There are people, but I don't think I've met anyone, well, no, maybe I have. But it's been a long time. I haven't met many people my age who like got initiated into one path and stuck with only that path and didn't learn from the other paths the entire way. Most people I know who are initiated had multiple initiations, including self-initiation, and they have learned from every path. And they learn from everything in life, and they incorporate that to go further.
Yeah.
And then usually people kind of stick to, you know, and I think a lot of people create their own like identity to it as well. Like they've gone through this and they've tried this, and then they go back to this, but they remember they still need to meditate and do this, and it works for them to like maybe do a novena to a saint here, and then go to, you know, do a little thing on the ocean there.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I wonder, I think about this often, do you think that is the human experience?
I think it should be. I think it's kind of the point of the story. I think there's the meaning to life is to like be open to more than our rigid little spectrum of what we're taught or trained or what we imagine it to be. So I think that if people realize that, they would live life in the way it's supposed to be lived. I mean, I've always followed, like for years I like sought comfort in the story of Rumi and like the Shams of Tabriz and Sufism, and just this idea of like wandering dervishes who had experiences and who wandered and who like shared in experiences with other people who came from other places. And I feel like, you know, that was like kind of the story of Jesus. He wandered everywhere and like was open to everyone and learned from experiences. And I wish we were way more open to like listening to the stories of like what life is trying to teach us how to be, rather than like kind of staying rigid in our philosophies about life.
What do you think it is that holds us back from being
Well, a lot of the
curious?
time it's how we were raised. I wasn't raised with fear. Like, my grandparents were very rigid in their beliefs in some ways, but they were also very open. Like, they believed in ghosts, and they, like, believed in mediumship and spirits. And my mom reads palms. She might not be able to see as well now, but my mom's very psychic. My dad's very psychic, you know? Like, he's a Vietnam vet. He can see things coming. He can read people. And just the awareness of talking about that and knowing that. And being raised, you know, it's funny because people I meet from the South or from the Midwest, like, who were raised Catholic, weren't raised like Boston Irish Catholic like I was raised, where we had like superstitions and you had to do a novena to this saint, kind of like, you know, and you did this and you did that and you had all these like superstitious things. It like kind of plays hand in hand with the way I live my life now. But other people were raised very rigid, like, you know, from the same background.
Yeah. I'm wondering that openness that you were raised with and that you've preserved and you know, tended and nurtured as you've gotten older, and I imagine probably that you're cultivating in your children, your family.
Yeah.
What have been some of the moments of magic that have happened because of your openness?
Oh my gosh.
It's a big broad question.
Just connecting with spirit and being able to connect with spirit in magical ways for other people and for other people to come to me, like when I had a message for them, is like hugely important. But like in a selfish way, like when I was like kind of getting done with being single in Salem, like single in the witch city.
I love the story.
You know, I was like, you know, I stood up at work and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm sick of dating. I'm going to meet a doctor with a sailboat and I'm going to have a son named Damien and I'm getting out of here. And about a month later, I met him. And everybody panicked and everyone's like, he's not really a doctor. You met him online. And I'm like, and 12 years later, I think, here we are.
It's such a delicious story.
It is really fun. We got rid of the sailboat pretty soon after our but you know.
The love stayed. So that's
yeah, the rest of it stayed.
Yeah. I wonder too, I think we talked a little bit about this, but it's still something that I like to ponder. Do you think that for you, that moment of maybe we want to call it recognition, maybe we want to call it forecasting, do you feel like it was you manifesting that next chapter for yourself, or do you feel like you had tapped into what was coming and you were sort of energetically, spiritually preparing for what was coming for you in the real world?
Well, it's funny because I think you can align for what's coming. So I think you have to use manifest to believe in your power and your ability, but you can also like see what's coming. But I know people who manifest that aren't overly in tune with the psychic ability, but once they're on that synchronicity line. But it's funny because like when people come to me like for a reading, I'm like, well, this is probably what's going to happen, but if you do this, you can change it. So you can always change your destiny in certain ways.
Yeah, that's another interesting question, the idea of destiny. Where do you fall on that line? Like, what is destiny? What is free will? Like, how does that all kind of factor into your
Well, yeah,
your
free
worldview?
will and personal choice, but it's also like people don't have the ability to see what's right in front of them. So I think that it's like really important when people are like, you know, if I go through this stoplight, there's a big % chance I'm going to get hit by a car, but I'm still going to go through the stoplight. And if I'm like, hey, tomorrow you might go through a stoplight because your phone's going to ring and you're just going to keep driving and then someone's going to hit you, and it's not going to be good if you do that, and that never comes up. But it's just an example. If I say, you know, you're going to meet someone in June, but you have to be open to it, and someone's going to invite you to an event and you've got to go to it because it's coming. Like, if they're ready for that and they listen, are they manifesting or are they walking into their destiny? But it's always a choice.
I love that. Have there been moments that you've worked with clients that have just really, I think belief is a muscle that we grow with practice like any other, but like, have there been moments that have just really affirmed your belief?
Every day.
Yeah.
And my clients have been with me for decades now, and like every day I see them, just today, my client that was like, oh, this got fixed, just like you said, right around the time it would get fixed legally. And I'm like, yes. And it's always reaffirming. It's really, really nice when that happens. The best, though, is mediumship, because it really is important to me when someone comes who's lost a child or a loved one or a mother or a father and they're grieving. And so many people don't believe in the other side or that there's something after death. And to be able to say, well, this is how that person died, not knowing them. This is like, you know, what they were like. This is the situation. This is what still has to be done. And just to have that like connection to know that. And I think to like give them not only peace, but like belief. That to me is more important than saying you're going to win the lottery May 15th if you go play at CV, like, you know, if you go play at the gas station. It's way more important to me for people to have a sense of belief that there's more.
And I think it's so lovely that that is something that you can help cultivate in someone else. Because I do think that, I think about this when I give Reiki, right? I think like my own personal journey, I started to feel my worthiness through a hug from a friend. Like he hugged me and I felt like I was worthy again. And I think because we are relational, we do often need someone else to make the warm introduction for us.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's into belief or into worthiness or into whatever it is, like we all have that ability to help initiate, right?
Yeah,
to
it's
initiate
really
someone
true.
into something.
There's a huge talk about keys when you come from like the traditions that I came from, and I always feel that way when I'm doing mediumship for someone or showing them that psychic ability is real or they have the ability to tune into more. It's almost like you're a key for another person, and I feel like we're all supposed to be functioning on that higher level where we use all 6 senses that God gave us, that the universe gave us. That, and if we're using all of those senses, we're able to like see what's coming. We're able to not be afraid. We're able to tune into being more powerful and like aligning ourselves with what we should be doing.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So, I mean, I want everybody to be able to find you, to work with you, to go on retreat with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the exciting things coming up that people can find you for?
So you can find me on ColleenWhiteHolistic.com or Colleen White Retreats and Events. And my next thing is actually, so I'll probably be having my Great Gatsby party in Bedford again at the end of the summer. And then in September, I have a witchy retreat that is for my clients. It's invitation only, but if you reach out and you do a call with me, you'll get an invitation. So, and then in November, I have a big beach house where we're doing another witchy one. Every time I do like a witchy fall retreat, we go into Salem for the day. I provide transportation. I line up your psychic reading. You get your private luxury room. You get your goddess yoga. You get all your meals. You get your sound bath, or you get your all your different like craft making. You get your behind the scenes in Salem and your shopping experience and your lunch there. You get so many different things. And we did belly dance last year.
And you get right? You get
so
you.
much fun.
You get someone who believes in magic, who believes in right, who can help
and all the
foster.
Stories and all the things.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I do Cape Cod, which is just yoga, transformational sound bath, massage, like wellness every April at the Cape Cod Villa. And then I'll be doing Florida this winter. That will be first serve invitation only to the people who are on my newsletter. So if you go to ColleenWhiteHolistic.com and you sign up, you definitely get invitations to the stuff I'm going to be doing in Florida this winter, which is going to involve horses and dolphins in the ocean and meditation and sound bath and so many different wonderful activities.
Yeah, it's so lovely just being around you. It's affirming that so much is possible, right?
Yeah.
Anything
really. Is possible.
Anything
I was
is
talking
possible.
about that at Women's Business League meeting this morning, how like I had a ceiling on myself for a while, and the ceiling is starting to come off again.
I love that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we like a ceiling. Sometimes we like a tight little container. It allows us to, I don't know, feel out what that is.
Yep.
And then it allows us to appreciate when we blow the top off again.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Colleen.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
And thank you so much to our viewers. We'll see you next time on the Passion Witch Project.
Thank you.